Hello, everyone. I'm Sign1News anchor Vanessa Paloma Bajarnik. Here's a quick look at the top trending international news stories making headlines today. If you post an interesting comment about this update, we may add it at the bottom of the screen. Thailand is flying national flags at half-staff to mourn the deaths of 37 victims killed in the tragic nursery massacre this week. Authorities say a former policeman went to the school to pick up his stepson. But when he did not find his child there, he went on a stabbing and shooting spree. "24 of the 37 people killed at the school were children between the ages of 2 and 3 years old. All of the victims had knife wounds to the head. Officials say the man then went home, shot and killed his wife and stepson, then took his own life. One teacher who survived the incident said there could have been more children present when the massacre took place. But many children with older siblings who were on a school break stayed home with them. And heavy rains had also affected school transportation that day. At least 131 people were killed and more than 300 injured when chaos and violence erupted after a football match in Indonesia. It all started when fans stormed the field after the home team lost to a longtime rival. Police released tear gas to disperse the crowd. Panicked fans started racing towards the exits and then became so packed together that people could not breathe. Many of the victims died from suffocation. The youngest victim was 3 years old. Now there is an investigation into why police released tear gas, which is a violation of FIFA guidelines. Recent statements by Russian officials and media make it clear that Vladimir Putin's push to annex territory in Ukraine is not going as he had planned. In fact, data shows that in this week alone, Ukrainian troops have made major victories in their plan to recapture their territory. Ukraine recaptured the key city of Lyman after Russian troops abandoned the region. Russian troops fled Lyman in the very same hours that Putin was signing papers declaring annexation of part of Ukraine. But Ukrainian troops did not stop to celebrate. They were on the move again to Crimean, another Russian target further east. Then on Saturday, this happened. Three people were killed after a bridge explosion in Crimea. The blast also caused parts of Europe's longest bridge to collapse. You can see in these photos fuel trucks and trains engulfed in flames on the Kerch Strait Bridge. This bridge is the only one connecting annexed Crimea to the Russian mainland, and it's used regularly to supply weapons and fuel to Russian forces. As Russia continues to face military setbacks in Ukraine, President Biden is offering a warning over Russian President Vladimir Putin's repeated nuclear threat. He said, any nuclear move by Russia could lead to Armageddon. Officials say Biden's message is not based on any new information about Putin's intentions to use nuclear weapons. But there is concern in the White House. Biden's warning comes as Russia is forced to deal with a string of defeats in Ukraine and a loss of Ukrainian territory Russia wanted to illegally annex. In Greece, at least 23 people died in the shipwrecks of 2 boats with migrants on board. The 2 boats were overloaded with people and got caught in strong winds and raging seas. At least 5 bodies were found on the island of Kathira when a boat with 95 migrants on board ran aground. And at least 18 people died in the other shipwreck after being stranded at the foot of a mountain. There were 40 people on board, but there were only 10 life jackets. A growing number of Iran's youth, many of them girls, have joined the nationwide anti-government protests. They range in age from students at a prominent university in Tehran to young school children. The uprising is part of a national movement caused by the death of Mahsa Amini, a 22-year-old woman who died after being arrested by the country's morality police. More and more video is emerging of teenage schoolgirls on the streets, waving their headscarves, chanting, "Death to the dictator," and "Women, life, freedom," the slogan of the protests. They are protesting despite the threat of being beaten, imprisoned, or killed. The protests have even inspired women around the world. A Swedish-Iraqi politician dramatically cut off her own hair in front of lawmakers in the EU Parliament as a sign of solidarity with anti-government protesters in Iran. And with so much turmoil and violence taking place all over the world, health officials in Argentina came up with a way to relieve the stress and anxiety. A huge pillow fight. Everyone in the city of Comodoro Rivadavia were invited to participate in a community pillow fight, which they say helps alleviate stress. Participants could swing as hard as they wanted. Officials made sure the activity was safe and fun. The health department says this is one way to address mental health. There were also workshops on stress, anxiety, emotions, and relaxation techniques. Sign1News will be broadcasting international news updates every Sunday. A big thank you to our Sign1News app supporters. You help make this broadcast happen. You can download the Sign1News app by heading to the App Store or Google Play Store on your smartphone. And you can also watch on Apple TV, Amazon, and Roku.